Okay, with the help of these cute widow feet, I've prepared a summary and I'll put a picture here for you. But one thing I forgot to say in the last video is that Charlie and Kirk and I actually agree. We believe that the whole argument about CRT and getting into the legal and the Frankfurt roots and all that is actually just irrelevant. Oh yeah, look at those feet, look at those feet. Uh, and that what really he wanted to look at was wokeness, whoa, wokeness, uh, which I'm happy to defend, and and kind of SJW stuff. So again, really, how are we going to see this in the curriculum? That's the question. I'll try to just kind of give you a video overview of the pages I'll include in the post. So the PDF I linked you to was the model curriculum through the California Board of Education for ethnic studies courses that might be mandated in California for graduation. If we're talking about who this is going to, it's high school students. Some California schools do middle school studies. That's right. That's right. But the model curriculum, the focus is on for the disciplines of African American studies, Chicano studies, Native American, and Asia Pacific Islanders, specifically looking at their history, culture, struggles, and contributions to address institution. Hey, can you say No, you can't. Institutionalized systems of whoa throughout history and bigotry and racism, anti-blackness, medicine.
Anti-Semitism?
Yep, Islamophobia and xenophobia, all within culture and government policies. I think this is what a lot of people who are concerned will focus on. And I'll make my point on why I don't think that's a problem. All right, so I will include pictures of this in the Facebook post for you. I don't think I'll cover everything, but I want to be like real about this because they're definitely the deeper I got into it, I saw there are some CRT principles for sure, and some things I'm sure a lot of conservative people be have some problems with. So I want to highlight that and maybe say why I'm not concerned. There is a ton of emphasis on critical thinking and civic engagement, student based inquiry, and stories. You'll see that big in what the board recommends for California. Um, in the course outlines, they want to make sure that there's a thematic approach, lots of case studies, lots of stories, allowing flexibility and adaptation depending on your populace, um, lots of language access, and to bring in all kinds of other disciplines. Really, they want to build a bridge between the schools, the teaching and learning there, and getting into community. This is just some of the stuff they want the teachers to know. Um, some of the content and skills they want for the students. Uh, Academic content skills should be grounded in stories of people of color. That's a big thing they keep emphasizing. Stories, 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 stories. But again, who? The high school students, and then some middle schools choose to do this. You'll find that it's the recommendations not super hyper specific. And if you want me to dig into or provide you some of the curriculum that districts are actually going to use, I did find some links on that, and I can look over it. But this is very general, um, but yet will but but not too general. So let me go into that. Um, Students will be introduced to the process of how do you deal with conflicting sources, primary and secondary sources, uh, form and defend analysis. There is an emphasis on intersectionality and how that creates a unique experience. For example, not just being black, but what about being like black and poor? Or what about being Native American and gay? This kind of intersectionality is emphasized. Um, they should learn the context and how to evaluate sources, which I think is something we all want, right? And how? Through conversation. Big, 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 big. Text, events, people, theories, ideas. And the UC, if you look up UC ES outlines, I forget what ES stands for, and books, um, they do have some curriculum. I think some of them free. So I'm going to try to look into that for you. But it's inquiry based, democratized learning, emphasis on discussions, no corner on the truth, a story approach, projects, and community. Central questions. I love these. I love these. I'm so glad kids are going to be talking about this. And let me be real clear about this because I guarantee, I guarantee that 90% of these courses is going to be the kids having potlucks and sharing dances and stuff. I really think that's what it's going to end up being, and maybe like 5% the hyper liberal teachers who really got something to share, and they're going to end up being on Fox News and as if that's how it's all happening. But anyways, uh, here's what the state wants them to focus on: how race and ethnicity uh, were constructed and changed. Ooh, what a question. Two, how do they shape U.S. and contemporary issues? Another great one. Now, there is some CRT in there and intersectionality. They're mentioned as a framework for teachers to study, right? Like uh, they give that as something that teachers might want to look at. Um, they go through all the different studies and what they're really looking for, but I wanted to highlight the African studies. The reason being, they're the ones that seem emphasized from the voices I hear complaining about this. But so in the African studies section, they want to know the story of oppression they faced, of exploitation of their labor, and their continued fight in the liberation. So this might be something that some families have trouble with. They don't think there is any liberation needed. But that's different than the question of whether it should be, this story should be told, right? And this is why parents need to be involved. Find what's happening in their class, talk to the kids about it, because this is meant to be a discussion. To be, this is meant to be teaching and learning as a bridge from the kids to their community. So we want these discussions to happen at home. You know, like if I were teaching this class, I'd want I'd want an outraged parent coming in and being like, "You're teaching that these people are oppressed," and I'll be like, "Well, so tell me why you think they're not." You know, like conversation. Um, and African contributions. Um, there now really helpful was a sample course outline, and I'll wrap it up here. So there's a course outline, and then what each unit should focus on, and a sample unit. So real quickly, the objectives should be develop intersectional and global understanding and the impact of racism, ethnicity, and culture on individuals, shaping them and shaping communities, systems of oppression and privilege. So this might be again where you're going to need if you don't think your kids should be taught about systems of oppression and privilege, one, I'd like to know why, but two, um, that might be a thing that some people are weary of. They don't want it being taught that there's white privilege because I guess somehow inherent is that white people should feel guilty. I never heard that they should, but apparently this is the big complaint. Um, Exposure to multiple histories and perspectives, and here's some main goals: critical and analytical communication skills, geohistory and cultural knowledge, humanism, collaboration, strength and diversity, rigorous historical understanding, and engage in civic action and service through many subject areas. Now, each unit should focus on empathy, celebrate and honor the different stories and experiences, and a high value place high value on ancestral and pre-colonial knowledge, especially in the Native American units. Like there's there's other values experienced in other cultures. Critique empire building. So this is where you're definitely going to run into some. I think a lot of people on the right might have trouble with this, but again, have a conversation with your kids. This is meant to be a critique, right? A critique. Critiques necessitate judgment and evaluation and discussion. This is a wonderful opportunity. But empire building in history and relation to white supremacy. So this is where I see some of the most founded problems in CRT, and maybe where people feel it leaks through is in the right, white supremacy and racism and other oppression. I mean, you wouldn't, right, if you were talking about the history of KKK, and it's clear as day in the past. Um, I think the problem is if parents feel it's being taught that it's a big deal today. But again, critique, right? Critique. So parents critique. You know, make sure you know what the lessons on, what your kids are writing about, and if you don't like whatever is being taught, then talk to them about it, critique it. Five, challenge racist, bigoted, imperialistic, colonial beliefs and practices. Connect to movements and communities. So, I think this imperialist thing might give some people pause for concern, but I don't know why. That is something clear as day and huge in shaping our world, and not discussed in normal history. Six, connect to movements and communities. Key understandings. You can look at it in the notes, but I don't think there's any there that you're going to have a problem with. Now, a sample unit, I chose one that I thought would be particularly troubling to a lot of people on the right called Systems of Power. Now, look at these questions, though. See, these are great questions to ask. And if it's done right by a teacher, we're a big value back here was democratizing the learning. Like, look, there it is, democratizing the learning. They want the teachers and the students kind of like learning together, right? Like, let's lay out arguments. Let's answer these questions together. Like, hold up. What is the relationship between individuals and society? How does society divide groups? Wow, what a question. Three, relationship between individual power and collective powers. Fantastic. Why do social systems influence choices? Ooh. What are implications of social hierarchy? So some people might say like that's where Marxism comes in, but what? Why do we not want people thinking about this? Teenagers thinking about what are the implications of social hierarchy? Come on, they're in the middle of teachers telling them what to do and to shut their mouths and sit down. Like this is, and they see there's principals and there's teachers and there's this is a fantastic question. How structures can control social systems and economic systems and lead to structures can like control circumstances and how society is organized, um, and looking at oppression of the four eyes of oppression: oppressing ideology, institutional oppression, interpersonal and internalized oppression. Ooh, that's a big one. And investigation of culture. Yeah, so I'll put some pictures. Sorry, I'm tired. I'll put some pictures in the Facebook feed. Ultimately, I think it's going to lead to potlucks and dances and some really good conversations between the kids. I think there will be definitely some examples of some uh, liberal teachers saying stuff that's going to go viral, but that's why I just, make sure you look at the curriculum and the homework and the questions being asked because really it's meant to be like a discussion. If you see any indoctrination happening, that's definitely something you can address because it's going against the standards here, right? Um, if you would like more specific curriculum, I can link you to it, or if you'd like me to evaluate some of the concerns that you think, or just, yeah, if you'd like me to evaluate that, let me know. All right, much aloha.